This is a Fox News Alert. I'm Brett Baer in Washington. Across the Atlantic, the polls are closed following an intense election day in the UK. What was supposed to be an extremely tight race, as we told you last night, looks to be shaping up quite differently. Senior Foreign Affairs correspondent Greg Palkot joins us live from London now with the battle for Parliament and a Conservative Prime Minister who looks almost certainly to be heading back to 10 Downing Street. Good evening, Greg.
Very, very interesting stuff, Brett. Yeah, the polls closed for just about an hour now here in the UK. There are no official results yet, but if the exit polls from our sister network Sky News and other media organizations here in the UK hold, then David Cameron is going to be Prime Minister of UK for another 5 years. Now, we also have to remind you, this is not a presidential election. This is a parliamentary election. The party and the leader with the majority of seats in the House of Commons, roughly our House of Representatives, gets to run the government. And so, the center-right Conservative Party of David Cameron is projected to have won 316 seats. To the center-left party, Labour Party, of David Miliband, 239 seats. Now, 326 seats are needed for an outright majority, but it's thought the Conservatives can reach that. Now, Cameron had a strong economic record to run on. Growth is up here, deficit, unemployment down, but he was criticized, especially for running what many thought was a very negative campaign against his Labour challenger and possible allies. But it might have worked. Miliband, the Labour Party, fared much worse than expected. Miliband's anti-austerity message and the leftward direction that he has taken the party since the Tony Blair days apparently didn't play. His biggest downfall, though, might have been the Scottish National Party of Nicola Sturgeon, projected to win all but one of the seats up in Scotland. Stronger than expected. Labour fared worse there as well. The independent spirit probably still strong. Finally, the centrist Liberal Democratic Party of Nick Clegg, partners in the coalition with Cameron's Conservatives for the last 5 years, lost seats but still could play a role in the next administration. And as for the anti-EU, tough on immigration UKIP party of Nicolas Farage, it looks like they'll only get 2 seats, but their message was heard loud and clear. So where does this leave the United States? If the polls hold, once again, the Obama administration has worked well with David Cameron and his Conservatives. It looks like that will continue. They're good on trade, they're good on security. Cameron will still have a lot of opposition in the Parliament, but that's politics. There is one hitch. Cameron has promised a referendum on leaving the European Union, which is our most important trading partner, but that referendum far down the road. One more time, though, Brett, we must say these are exit polls. The first actual results are just now coming in. It's going to be a long night of counting all the votes, but if they hold, and all 3 major television networks here in the UK are using the same numbers, it looks like the Conservatives and David Cameron back for another 5 years. Back to you.
Yeah, shocker for Edward Miliband and the Labour Party. Greg Palkot live in London. Greg, thanks. Back here in the U.S., the National Security Agency's once secret bulk phone data collection program, revealed by former NSA contractor Edward Snowden, was ruled illegal by a federal appeals court today. This, as the FBI director warns, there are terrorists out there they cannot track. We have Fox team coverage tonight. Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge with Jim Comey's troubling statement from the FBI. But first, correspondent Kevin Corke tonight with where the program with the NSA designed to fight terrorism is hung up now. Kevin.
Brett, good evening to you. Teams for President Obama and newly confirmed Attorney General Loretta Lynch are working tonight to maintain some sort of a surveillance program, but without the government having the massive phone records that tripped them up in court today. In its 97-page ruling, a 3-judge panel from the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit held that a provision of the Patriot Act, known as Section 215, doesn't allow for the bulk collection of domestic calling records. Judge Gerard Lynch writing that, quote, Section 215 cannot bear the weight the government asks us to assign to it, and that it does not authorize the telephone metadata program. Authorized by Presidents George W. Bush and then Barack Obama, the NSA program repeatedly has been approved in secret by judges serving on the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, known as the FISA Court. Created after 9/11 as a tool to fight terrorism, the program was exposed by former NSA employee Edward Snowden. Today's decision is a major victory for the ACLU, which appealed a lower court decision that the program was lawful.
Nobody disagrees that the NSA has an interest, a legitimate interest, in tracking the communications of suspected terrorists. The problem with this program is that the NSA was collecting everybody's information.
The White House wouldn't comment directly on the opinion, but in a statement, an NSC spokesman noted the president's desire for, quote, creating an alternative mechanism to preserve the program's essential capabilities without the government holding the bulk data. The ruling comes as Congress weighs whether to end and replace the program or extend it without changes.
The Congress, according to the court, did not authorize spying of this level. And if the Congress wants to authorize it, it can do so, and then the court will review the constitutionality of that.
Reaction on Capitol Hill was mixed. Rand Paul calling the ruling a, quote, monumental decision for all lovers of liberty. Harry Reid said he'd be, quote, opposed to any extension of these spying powers. But Marco Rubio said if a future terror plot is successful, Americans will ask why more wasn't done to stop it.
And the answer better not be because this Congress failed to authorize a program that might have helped us know about it.
Strong words from the Florida senator right there. Now, Brett, it's important to point out that today's ruling does not effectively end the program, and that puts the onus back on Congress. Next week, the House is set to consider the USA Freedom Act. That would essentially be an extension of the Patriot Act provisions that are set to expire on June 1st. Supporters are telling us tonight that it should have better privacy oversight.
Kevin Cork live on the North Lawn. Kevin, thank you. Well, just days after an attack in Texas, the FBI director is warning that ISIS is using social media to press individuals to turn violent right here in the U.S. Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge tonight on Jim Comey's new warning. So, Catherine, what did the FBI director say about operatives going dark?
Well, Comey told reporters that there's been a dramatic change in the way terrorists are recruited. And what they see is guys getting on the web and connecting through social media with ISIS, and then ISIS redirects them to encrypted communications. They go dark, and that leaves the FBI effectively blind to their activities.
So what else did we learn?
Well, we also learned for the first time that in March of this year, the FBI reopened their investigation into one of the Garland, Texas suspects, Elton Simpson. And that was because on social media, he indicated that he wanted to get back into jihad, and this time not with al-Qaeda in East Africa, but more specifically with ISIS.
So did someone drop the ball?
It's a fair question. The FBI director confirmed that there were multiple intelligence bulletins prior to the contest saying they thought it would be a flashpoint for violence. But in the hours before the contest, they got information about Simpson, that he was interested in going to Garland, Texas, and may in fact be on his way there. The FBI director said today there was no evidence that that traffic cop that shot the suspects ever got any information from that bulletin.
Okay, we'll continue to follow it. Catherine, thanks.
You're welcome.
The Pentagon confirmed today the U.S. military is in the process of training Syrian rebels to take on ISIS.
We're announcing today that combat training has begun for a company-sized group from the new Syrian forces. This program is critical and a complex part of our counter-ISIL efforts. We expect a second group to begin training in the next few weeks.
When asked if the U.S. would support these fighters inside Syria, Secretary Carter said they had not determined all the rules of engagement. The fighters have been pre-screened, they said, by the U.S. in the hopes of weeding out extremists. The training will be held at 4 sites in Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Turkey. Congress is one step closer to making sure it has a say in any nuclear deal with Iran. In a 98-1 vote, the Senate overwhelmingly passed legislation today that would allow Congress to review and possibly reject a deal. Arkansas Republican Senator Tom Cotton was the only senator to vote against the bill. In a statement, Cotton said that he objected to the deal because it was not presented to Congress as a treaty. The House is expected to take up the proposal next week. Iran has released the cargo ship it was holding in the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian forces seized the Maersk Tigris last month, claiming the company that chartered the ship owed money to an Iranian firm. The company tells Fox News it has worked out a deal with Iran. All crew members on that ship, flying under the flag of the Marshall Islands, are said to be in good condition. Hillary Clinton is under fire tonight. No, not for the email server controversy or the questionable funding of her family's foundation or the speeches for former President Clinton, but what seems to be a flip-flop on big money donations, not just for her, but for the entire Democratic Party. Chief White House correspondent Ed Henry has the story of Hillary Clinton's secret donor meetings.
Hillary Clinton arrived today at the palatial home of billionaire and Democratic fundraiser Haim Sabin in Los Angeles, despite her recent crusade to do just the opposite.
Once and for all say no unaccountable corporate billionaire money flowing into our political system.
Today, her campaign released a memo declaring that at 3 campaign fundraisers, Clinton would speak behind closed doors and away from cameras about strengthening middle-class families and, quote, fixing our dysfunctional political system. The memo did not mention that in other meetings today, Clinton was embracing something that her liberal critics charge is actually making the system more dysfunctional. She held one-on-ones, again away from the cameras, with mega donors to the Democratic super PAC Priorities USA, even though President Obama stopped short of direct fundraising for that PAC in the 2012 campaign. A move now by Clinton that comes in sharp contrast to her repeatedly saying in recent weeks she wants to clean things up.
We have to get rid of the unaccountable money that is flooding into our political system, even if it takes a constitutional amendment.
In private, Clinton aides say she needs to keep raising big money to win the next election, and then she'll be able to push that constitutional amendment to try and overturn the Citizens United Supreme Court decision. Now they say she's playing by the rules, noting the president did end up directly raising money for the super PAC in the 2014 midterms. And Clinton will not unilaterally disarm in the face of the Koch brothers and other Republicans raising and spending hundreds of millions of dollars. In fact, the Republican National Committee is jumping on former President Bill Clinton's defense of his large speaking fees from donors to the Clinton Foundation.
Gotta pay for my bills sounds very similar to we are dead broke. I mean, it's sort of the sense of being out of touch with the everyday American.
Today at the State Department, a spokesman acknowledged mistakes were made.
You've mentioned the foreign government donations. We regret that we did not have the opportunity to review all new and increased foreign government donations.
Now, that was a reference to an affiliate of the Clinton Foundation that focuses on health issues. Even though the State Department admitted there are questions about undisclosed foreign donations, that spokesman added they have no plans to actually investigate it. Brett?
Ed, thank you. Up next, a Texas showdown between some Republicans and the U.S. military. First, here's what some of our Fox affiliates around the country are covering tonight. WTIC in Hartford, Connecticut, where more than 30 lawsuits have now been filed against Metro North Railroad over the 2013 commuter train derailment in Bridgeport. More than 70 people were injured when the 2 trains collided 2 years ago. Fox 43 in Norfolk, Virginia, with an accused bank robber posting his alleged crime on social media. Dominic Alfonseca is behind bars after police say he recorded a cashier putting cash into a bag, then posted that along with a note asking the teller for $150,000 to Instagram. Alfonseca says it's not a crime to ask for money, and thus he says he's innocent. And this is a live look at Boston from our affiliate Fox 25. The big story there tonight, New England Patriots quarterback Tom Brady's first public appearance since an NFL-commissioned report revealed the Patriots QB likely knew about the deflated footballs used in the AFC Championship game. Brady's scheduled to speak at Salem State University just about an hour from now. No word on what, if anything, he'll say about the allegations. That's tonight's live look outside the Beltway from Special Report. We'll be right back.